guarantees recorded. We'll only have bits and pieces. Even in these bits and pieces that we have, there are very clear indications that Jesus Christ, that not just Jews in general were expecting another figure. And Jesus Christ also predicted that figure. And there's a passage in the New Testament where the Jews came to him and they said are you basically that one that we're expecting? Are you the one that we're expecting? He said, no, I'm not that one. He denied that the figure that they're expecting is, I'm not that one. And Jesus Christ also said that if I don't leave, then the Paraclete will not come to you. Now, most New Testament comments, in fact, I have to leave in order for this other one to come. This is a very famous dialogue that occurred basically right before his quote-unquote ascension, and the New Testament included. Said, I have to leave in order for the Paraclete to come. Now, who is the Paraclete? The majority of Christians, the vast majority of them, consider the Paraclete to be none other than the Holy Ghost. But that doesn't make sense because the Holy Ghost, by testimony of the New Testament, was already there, in them, with them, in their presence. So Jesus Christ's departure should not have affected the presence of the Holy Ghost. Because the Holy Ghost, according to Christian theology, is always with the Christians, always with the believers. So Jesus Christ is indicating another person. Unless I leave, he's not going to come. That was perfect time music to the time. Unless I leave, he's not going to come. So there are indications. Now, of course, in the Old Testament, there are probably even more indications than the New Testament. And of the Old Testament is the famous verse in Deuteronomy, that I shall raise amongst them a prophet like unto you. Okay, this is, where is the Iraqi translation? Chapter 18, verse 18. Yes, I remember this cool number, 1818. These are popular, these things. It's been a long time since I've seen these up. So, Deuteronomy 18:18. If you look at this passage, basically God says, I'm going to send a prophet like Moses from amongst the descendants of Abraham. Now, Jesus Christ did not resemble Moses that much in many factors. Whereas the Prophet Muhammad resembled the Prophet Moses in many, many, many factors. In fact, between the two of them, there is very little similarity between Jesus Christ and Moses, whereas there's a lot between the Prophet Muhammad and between Moses. And there are other indications as well. There is a series of good books, actually. In fact, let me just tell you one of them. One of the best books that I would recommend. And that is called The First and Final Commandment. The First and Final Commandment by Dr. Lawrence Brown. L-A-W-R-E-N-C-E, Lawrence Brown, B-R-O-N-W. And in fact, it is downloadable from the internet. If you want to download 300 pages, it's downloadable. It's called, the website is www.leveltruth.com. Level Truth.
We have a copy, we can provide you one.
He has a copy of the book as well. Yes, so you can get a copy of the book from the brother afterwards. But this is, in my opinion, the single best book to give to a person who's a bit aware. We shouldn't be given to just anybody who's a little bit aware, because it's a thick book, and it starts from the beginning, and it basically works your way through. It's a very good book to read. Okay.
So we have a very few questions on this here.
Okay.
We have a question: how important is the memorization of the Quran and the Prophet's Hadith in seeking Islamic knowledge?
How important is memorizing the Quran and Hadith in seeking knowledge? It is essential. You cannot seek knowledge without memorizing the Quran and Hadith. In the life of a daily Muslim, I would say Quran and Hadith is like your basic food. You need a little bit of it every day. You need a little bit to energize and charge you up. So I would recommend that the Muslim put in his or her routine or schedule a few minutes of recitation every single day. Even if it's only 10 minutes a day. Should have some type of relationship with the Quran. And when it comes to Hadith, I would recommend every single Muslim to purchase and have next to his bedside a book called Riyadh al-Salihin by Imam Dawah. Riyadh al-Salihin is available in each and every language that is spoken by the Muslim population, whether in English, Hindi, Bengali, every single language is translated. So this book is a very simple book of Hadith that every Muslim should read cover to cover. It is a book that is, you don't need to get scholars to understand. So Riyadh al-Salihin by Imam Dawah is a very good book.
There is another question related to seeking knowledge. It's the about you. Why did you leave your study as an engineer? And do you recommend us to do the same to seek Islamic knowledge?
They didn't take me up as an engineer. So that's definitely not the reason. I got good money for engineering. I worked at Dow Chemical. Have you heard of Dow Chemical? It's the second largest chemical corporation in the world. I worked at them for a short while. The reason I left is because I didn't find it spiritually satisfying. I wanted to do something with my life more than just work behind the desk and solve nth-power quadratic equations by writing codes in Fortran. It was getting a little bit too boring. It wasn't challenging, and it wasn't. Fortran is an old language. You guys never heard of it. You guys do C++ now, right? So
we do Fortran.
You do Fortran still? I did Fortran 77. Which version are you on?
77.
Still 77? 1977. You're living in a house with company. The other people I've met, they've updated Fortran now.
I don't know the number after that, but we do Fortran. We did in first semester.
Oh, you study it as an exotic science. You don't do it, and you have to use it, right? You just use it.
Sorry, Sheikh. Regarding to this question, I've sent these questions to. It's actually in my country where I came from, many schools of it. They left all their studies. They left the Islamic knowledge. So this makes me worry about my future. So,
you should not be worried about your future. You should be optimistic about your future.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good, or is it more recommended to leave my study and take another way?
All I can say is this is a decision you need to make. Nobody else can make it for you. You need to want something different. If you are very satisfied with what you're doing, intellectually, economically, emotionally, come to the help. If you're not satisfied and you want to do something that is different and in fact spiritually higher, challenging, then you should also think about it.
I'm worried about what I have spent so far in my life. I mean, I have spent a lot of years.
من ترك شيئا لله عوضه الله خيرا منه. Whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will give him something better than that. But your question, brother, is a very deep one, and I think you're looking at it in a very simplistic fashion. It's not just that should I leave or not. It's a question of do I want to or not. It's a question you need to think about and grapple with. And you know one thing I will tell you, if you have a solid background in science, engineering, medicine, and then you turn to Islamic studies, in fact, you will become a more effective guy, and a more effective alim, and a more effective student of knowledge. Because you have combined between the two worlds. Whereas if you become an alim without having any knowledge of other sciences, alhamdulillah, that's great. But you're always going to be lacking, basically, even an understanding of the first people you're talking to. So, some of the most effective du'as in the world alive today were in fact engineers, doctors, others, and they've changed, and they became, they spent a few years and they became ulama and du'as, and that helped them. I speak for myself, my engineering degree helped me immensely in studying habits, understanding. It helped me have an enthusiasm and feel that I am doing something, already having a backup. Whereas many of the other students who were there, this is what they want to do, so just like our undergraduate degrees, half in, half out. Whereas I made up my mind, I've already done one, this is the second thing, and my heart was in it. So this is a decision you need to make. I cannot make it for you. And she couldn't claim. Allah Azza wa Jalla does not require each and every human being to become an alim. Never. It's not required. You will, inshallah, get into Jannah, without being an alim. Majority of the ummah is not an alim or dua. They will get into Jannah, inshallah. But you want to be more effective, inshallah, higher place in Jannah. You want to do something for the ummah more than just work behind the desk or do something. Then you should think about this, yes. But if you don't, you're not guilty. That's the beauty of this religion.
We have 3 questions received here. The first one is, there is timetable for prayer. Do we have to pray exactly on those times, or is it okay to pray in the interval between the 2 prayers?
The timetable for the prayers is meant to be a guideline. First point about these timetables, you don't have to be on the dot. It's the first common mistake. There were no watches at the time of the Prophet. If it says Dawah starts at 1:36, and in your watch it's 1:35, go ahead and pray. Because it's a matter of 30 seconds. The Prophet, there were no watches. Okay? It's a rough idea. It's not, you look at the actual prayer timing are based upon the position of the sun. Okay? And the position of the sun, as the hadith, forms this result, it's not something that you put an exact second to. It gives you a rough idea, general idea of what it is. Okay? Second point, every single prayer can be done between the two timings, except for Fajr, which needs to be done obviously before the sun rises. So, basically from the dawn to actual sunrise. This is the time of Fajr. Dhuhr is between Dhuhr and Asr, absolutely. Asr is between Asr and then when the sun becomes yellowish, loses its heat. Okay? According to other reports, when the shadow becomes twice the size, in other words, you shouldn't delay it all the way to Maghrib. You should pray half an hour or something before Maghrib at the latest, okay? Depending on the time of the year. Maghrib to Isha, generally speaking, you may do it, but the scholars strongly recommend Maghrib on this time simply because it's the shortest prayer. And then Isha is the one that has the most controversy, but strongest opinion appears to be, if you pray up until midnight meaning between Isha and Fajr, not midnight 12 o'clock.
Between Maghrib?
Sorry, between Maghrib and Fajr, right? If you pray until half of the night, that is fine. If you delay beyond half the night, you are not sinful, inshallah. Your prayer is accepted. So, generally speaking, yes, you may pray between the two times.
Okay, we have two more questions from the system, then we go back to the people in the audience. If you miss Fajr prayer because you overslept, do you have to wait for the sun to appear fully before you pray?
Either of the two positions is fine. If you wait for the sun to go up, this is acceptable, and if you pray right then and there, this is acceptable. Both are acceptable.
Okay, the third question. What would you say to someone who says that your religion is also just a distraction from the hardships and suffering of life? It's no different from other worldly distractions like meditation or drinking.
Obviously, this is the common retort of those who don't believe in religion, generally speaking. Was it Nietzsche who said religion is the panacea of the masses? It was Nietzsche or somebody who said that. All I can say is that I feel sorry for those who have to live their life without honesty. Without religion, there is no purpose in life. And in fact, it is said that even Nietzsche realized that when he said, they have killed God, but they don't realize that by killing God, they have killed themselves. This is in Nietzsche's the science that he wrote, that book that he wrote, where he has that famous phrase, they killed God, or we killed God, or God is dead. Nietzsche, I remember that said that. So even Nietzsche realized when you move God out of your life becomes meaningless and purposeless. All I can say with response to this is that as Muslims, we need to understand that every person is born with something called a fitrah. It's an innate, subconscious nature inside of us. And that fitrah requires man to believe in a divine. It requires man to have a spiritual side. And that is why every single society believes in a religion or even invents a religion. No matter how ridiculous the religion is, worshipping idols or stones or sacrificing to a false deity, man needs something in him to worship. This is a part of who we are. A person who denies that is in fact corrupting his or her own essence of existence. The fitrah we call it. So my advice would be to keep on repeating the same things which sound very basic to us. But keep on repeating them. We don't have to go to a nth-level philosophical debate with atheists and deniers of religion. We just keep on saying the same thing. Do you think you were created out of nothing, or did you create yourself? Who created you? If he says nothing, whatever, you keep on saying the same thing. To me, it's ludicrous to say we came out of nothing. Well, there is a creator and God. And if there is a God, then God must care about us and love us, or else we wouldn't be here. If He cares and loves about us, then He would have told us what we should do in life. In other words, He would have sent prophets and messengers. Keep on saying it at a basic level. And if they go into these philosophical tangents, always bring it back down to the same thing. If there is a God, and there is a God, then there must also be a religion that is the religion of God. It's your job to find that religion. Keep it at that. Always keep it simple. Okay, and this is, I think, how is your da'wah? Muslims have a problem of overcomplicating da'wah. All of them. They overcomplicate it. Da'wah is so simple. You just keep on saying basic fundamental facts that are irrefutable. Common sense proves that there is a God. Only He is worthy of worship. He cares about us and loves us. He must have sent prophets to tell us what to do. Those prophets have revelations and books. Therefore, study those books, see those prophets, see what they taught, and see which one is the most correct choice to go to God.
Okay, we'll take 2 questions from the audience and we'll go back to this afterwards.
I was just wondering, how do you reconcile what you said about Iman with respect to Islam, Iman and Ihsan, different levels of because as a Muslim, just go back to something to one.
Yeah, there are levels, as I said. I think in the talk there are levels. And Islam, Iman, and Ihsan are basically like a pyramid working their way up. The lowest level is that of Islam. And Islam basically means you are doing the 5 pillars at the bare minimum level. A higher level is that of Iman. And Iman is where you have increased through many of the sunnahs and nafils, where you are much more conscious of your salah, for example. You're not just doing it, but you're right? So the mu'min is not just praying, that's the Muslim. He's praying with a certain spirituality. So Iman is developed from Islam. When you have developed even more, you get to the level of Ihsan. I have given a talk that is available on YouTube, a video, Google, it is called, what is it called? The Journey of Worship. Okay, if you listen to the talk, The Journey of Worship, I talk about what is Iman, Islam, and Ihsan, and what is the difference between them, and how do we get to each of these things.
On that further point, you are speaking about, defining faith in Islam, like it's not simply belief. But the 3 things, what you said, belief, statement, and action, somebody else who doesn't have the actual belief in Allah could usually say that we believe on something, we make statement on that, and we act accordingly. So
I'm saying you must have belief in the eyes of Allah. We can never judge a person's belief, but Allah knows what to believe in. So a person who doesn't have belief but pretends to is a hypocrite.
No, I'm speaking about other non-Muslim religions. They will go along with the same tenets, and they will say that we have belief. Our belief you can't question. Our belief is belief, and we act accordingly. We make statements accordingly. So I was just wondering our definition of,
for example, the majority of Christian groups, especially Protestants in particular, they are clearly of the position that all you need is to believe in Jesus Christ to be saved. No matter what you do after that, you're not going to nullify your salvation. In fact, I even debated with the Christian one. I said, what incentive is there for you to be good? Why should you be good? You know that you believe in Jesus Christ and you're going to be saved. Well, then go ahead and commit every sin in the book. And he could not respond to me. Like there's no incentive for him to be good because he knows he's going to be saved if he believes that Jesus Christ died for his sins. And to me, obviously, even though it's a very convenient definition of Iman, but it doesn't even make sense in the sense, if it were that easy, I believe in Allah, that's it. That's it. Then why should we be good then? It's more than just that. That was the point that I was trying to come across. Right? So I would say the majority of religions don't require action. If they say they're good to do, fine, they don't require them for salvation. And Christianity is included in that.
Last question. What's next?
Sorry, you have to be a Muslim first before you can become Muslim. Because you put them in that order, said they have to be Muslim first and Muslim.
Yeah, see, Iman, again, this is a talk that is a bit deeper than this. There's two levels of Iman. There's general level of Iman, and then there's the highest level of Iman. You cannot be a Muslim without having a general level of Iman. Okay? But, so you believe in the pillars that you are a Muslim. But to take that belief to a spiritual level, meaning you're more conscious of it, and you act according to it, that is the higher level of Iman. So to answer your question, the word Iman, right, comprises of a basic belief system, which you have to be even to be a Muslim. And it also comprises a spiritual manifestation of that basic belief, which is the level of Iman, which is above Islam. So Iman is actually of two meanings, and this is your confusion here. Can you get to Islam without having Iman? The specific meaning, yes, but the general meaning, no. You must have a general level of Iman to get you to Islam. And the evidences for this are in a class that I teach. I will be teaching it in London soon, maybe from a London institute called Life Guidance. I go into all of these issues of theology in detail, what it is. But it's quite intricate. I need to prove the general, the specific, and everything. But the Quran clearly demonstrates that there's a basic level of Iman that even a Muslim has to have. And then there's a higher level of Iman. If you don't have it, you're still a Muslim. But you're not the best Muslim. Like that. Okay? Was there a question from the sisters in the back? I saw a hand raised. Go ahead.
I have a question relating to suicide, especially suicide by a young child. It is said that you are not supposed to say prayers.
Suicide by what?
This young boy killed himself through stresses of education and exams, and he was Muslim, and it was quite upsetting. And it is many years ago, and to this day it upsets me when some Muslims decided to say that we can't say prayers, we should simply be buried.
If a Muslim commits suicide, this is no doubt a very serious crime. Nobody can deny that.